Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make crepes. So we start off with 8 ounces, which is 225 grams of plain flour. What you do with that is you make a well in the middle. So I don't know if you can see that. Oops. So you push the flour up the sides of the bowl, and then you break 2 eggs in. So what I'm doing is making sort of double the mixture. The normal recipe's 4 ounces of flour, 1 egg. But I don't find that really makes enough crepes. So I like to make a little bit more. So I'm just going to check my recipe because I always forget how much milk to put in. So 300 mils for every 100 grams or ish. So basically what that is in old money is around a pint. So I'm going to pour that in. There we go. So I've done just under 600 in there. A tiny bit under. So I'll just whisk the egg up a little bit and mix in the flour. Bring you down here, hopefully you can see. So I'm just mixing the flour in with the eggs first. There we go. So mix the flour in a little bit and then add in some milk. Just gently stir it. I'm just using a really good sturdy fork. You could use a whisk, but I wouldn't bother just now at this stage. So I'm not going to worry about getting it too smooth just now because I'm going to have to keep adding milk in. When you start mixing it up, just do it gently. Otherwise you get milk spilled everywhere. Oh, the other thing I added to the flour was a pinch of salt. Sorry, 2 pinches because I'm making twice the mixture. I'm probably putting about 1/4 of the milk in at a time, just so it's not too difficult. So in the recipe book it's just called pouring batter, but I know these as crepes. They're basically savoury. There's no sweet ingredients in the mixture. So you can eat them savoury or sweet. Personally, I always have them with Nutella or chocolate spread that uses less palm oil than Nutella does. Oops. So I always try and look for the one that has it, if not completely not in the palm oil, at least not the first oil ingredient. Because so if it says sunflower oil, whatever, sesame oil, it's not going to say sesame, you know what I mean, and then palm oil, then you know that palm oil isn't the most used oil. So I'm just going to whisk this up. There's like tiny little lumps in it. Now I like using a glass bowl when I make crepes and pancakes, just so that, more so with pancakes, just so that I can check there aren't any sort of lumps of flour stuck to the bottom. The other thing I did is to sifted the flour first. Still a few lumps in there. I think I'll get my whisk. Sometimes it doesn't have lumps, sometimes it does. It's no problem if it does. So the consistency that you want for crepes is always like single cream sort of thickness and consistency. So if it seems a bit thicker than that, then you might need to add a little bit more milk. Just going to keep whisking this up just now. So you can make them in a frying pan. I just happen to have a crepe pan. So what I normally do, just to make sure that nothing's going to stick, is that I've got some of this just sunflower spray, or you can use that 1% stuff or whatever. I'll just put one scoosh onto the pan and get a pastry brush and just, same as I did probably with the pancakes video, if you've seen that. So a little bit more. Now there's another little secret I learned from my ex-boss, Bart, who made crepes one time, and they've had like sort of like little circles on them, and I was like, how do you get that? Because that's never happened to mine. Anyway, apparently it's a little bit of oil, so I'm just going to do 2 squirts of this. You could put in half a teaspoon maybe of oil, and again I'm just going to mix it in. Oh, and I've put the pan on and I've put it up to, well, not high enough. I'm going to put it really high to start off with, and then once it gets up to a good enough temperature, then I'll turn it up and down to keep it consistently high but not high enough to actually burn the pancakes. Now, the other thing I'll get is my cooling rack, so that I can get them cooled down quickly. I can still see some tiny little lumps, but they're so tiny it doesn't really matter. So it's worth getting something that you can scoop out. This one is, what is it now? I can't actually see that. I think it's like 1/4 cup or something. I usually use about 2 scoops of this. So, pan's getting quite hot. So, do like 2 scoops. And then I just let it go all the way around. And then put it on the heat. Hopefully it's hot enough. I'll just show you. You can actually see the tiny little lumps, but honestly it doesn't matter. I'll just keep giving it a little whisk. Now, the base of my pan is wider than or bigger than the size of the hob that's heated. So I need to make sure that I get heat and it goes all the way around the edge as well. Otherwise it's just going to get cooked in the middle, and it'd be kind of strange around the edges. I use a palette knife again for, I'm not smart enough to flip them. I just use my palette knife and try not to drop them on the sides of the pan. That's quite annoying when that happens. I always really just keep whisking this up in between, because if there's any any sort of slightly bigger bits of flour, they'll sink to the bottom and then you can try and whisk them up again. So this amount of mixture probably makes around 12, 14 crepes maybe. 12, probably 12 I would say. And what you can do is you can actually freeze them, so you can put them in the fridge or you could freeze them. You can wrap them individually in like greaseproof paper and then sort of cling film, and then freeze them, and then just take one out whenever you want them, and then you can just put them back into the pan. Oops, I can see the edge is going a little bit brown. I may have actually burnt this one a little bit. Oh no, not there anyway, not on that side. So yeah, you can either keep them for probably about up to a week in the fridge, or put them in the freezer and just take one out whenever you want one. I'm just going to pause you for a second. Well, that was embarrassing. So the first pancake has ended up a kind of like mess because it's stuck to the pan. So little lesson there. I think it was too hot and maybe not enough. Maybe my pan is losing its stickiness, but also I didn't obviously put enough oil into it. So just going to lift it off the heat while I do it this time. So again, 2 scoops. So I guess it's like about half a cup, maybe a little bit less. I don't know how they do it when they make it on one of those heated plate things. So this has just gone up the sides a little bit, which are not particularly greased or oiled. So I'm just going to push that down a little bit. I don't want it to get stuck. So fingers crossed this one works. I'm not going to show you every single crepe. If this one works out, that'll be enough. And just assume that they all work out. But I have been making these for years and years and years, and things still go wrong. So don't ever let it put you off, especially with baking. It's like it is a science, and sometimes things are just not quite right. So don't be put off. So yeah, the other things you can have with crepes, so I always have like chocolate spread, like I said, with icing sugar sprinkled over the top. You can have lemon and like caster sugar, so lemon juice, caster sugar. What else? I mean, you can put anything sweet in them really that you want. You can also have them savoury. So my mum's favourite thing used to be, in an old place we used to go and eat, was what was called smoky pancakes. So it was Arbroath smokies in a sort of creamy sauce inside one of these, inside a crepe, which I know she absolutely loved. So just going to turn this over. So as you can see, it's kind of getting brown, but it's not like overly cooked or anything. Now the hob is really hot, so I'm going to turn it down to a 5. I'm also not going to put this down until I just shake it around a little bit, just to try and make sure it all gets like an even heat. So let's just have a quick look. Haha. So this is the effect that you get with the oil. It's the sort of speckled or whatever, which I really like. So that's what happens when you put a bit of oil into the mixture. which I think looks pretty. So I'm just going to stick it back on for a sec, and I've turned it back over. You don't need to even do that. The other thing sometimes with mine is I know I'm going to reheat them, so I might not, you know, leave them on too long. So that's it. So that's what that looks like, and I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So just get my pastry brush, give it a little spray. Get my scoop. 2 scoops. Spread it around a bit. Ta-da! Good luck!